Hello, friends. Hope you are fine. Today, the podcast is about Rahu. It will be from the first house till the 12th house. So, let us begin with the Rahu in first house. What will be the results of Rahu in the first house in case of all the ascendants, and starting with the Aries and ending with the Pisces. Now, as I mentioned in the Ketu series, that Rahu and Ketu are the shadowy planets, and usually on practical grounds rather, and these are planets of general malefic nature, isn't it? These are not benefic like Sun, Jupiter, Mars, and other planets. So these two planets considered planets in Vedic astrology and given extremely high importance because they play an extremely role. Most of the problems that people face are due to Ketu and Rahu, and mostly they are due to Ketu in most of the charts. But Ketu also spoils a person, spoils the happiness of the native. One is unable to understand what is happening over, isn't it? Now, Rahu in the first house, it will be in the Aries. So, as I have said, that Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature, one can't expect anything positive out of it. So, this is the fundamental point. Now, Rahu, when afflicting, it creates problems. When not afflicting, it gives some positive results to the native during its Antardasha. And in case Rahu is not afflicting in the first house, it activates the person, it makes a person dynamic and desirous of earning more and more without uh, thinking about the ethical code of society, isn't it? Such a person, such a person indulges in illegal activities. Such a person indulges in illegal activities irrespective of the fact that what is the ethical code of society. He transgresses, isn't it? He crosses the limits, and such a person also becomes ambitious in life. He is quite selfish in nature. His person by personality traits, he is quite selfish, and he wants more and more. He wants to earn more and more, and he becomes ambitious in life, that I have this aim, I have to achieve this. However, Rahu should be strong by degrees, isn't it? It should be in strength. If it is in infancy or old age, these results won't be there. And it is the case when Rahu is not afflicting in the first house, isn't it? So these are the main results and there will be gains. The person will achieve. The person will have gains given that Venus is also strong in the chart, Mercury is also strong in the chart. And in case of Aries ascendant, when Rahu is placed in the first house, it means it will be in the Aries. For Rahu to give good results, as I mentioned, Mars, the lord of Rahu in this case, that should be utterly strong in the chart. So these are the main points. And in case the Lagna rises in a Rahu nakshatra and Rahu is quite strong in the chart and it's not afflicting, that becomes a blessing for the native, isn't it? That native will be able to, and Rahu is not afflicting. If Rahu is afflicting, that becomes a cause of concern for the native. So this is the one side. On the other hand, when Rahu is afflicting in the chart, what happens? It leads to acute health problems, isn't it? It leads to acute health problems. There are issues with respect to marital life. A person is involved in extramarital affairs when Rahu afflicts its house of placement in the first house, and such a person definitely will have extramarital affairs. There will be issues with the wife also, and there will be issues with the male progeny, issues with the father, and a person will be, if Mars is utterly weak in the chart, a person will become a drug addict, isn't it? A drug addict, that of heroin and other drugs, alcoholic, highly alcoholic in that case. And the person will speak rubbish, isn't it? He will forget about the ethical code of society. So these are the serious effects when Rahu afflicts its house of placement in the first house. And if it afflicts other planets in the chart, that becomes a cause of concern. On the other hand, that will be the other series, what happens when Rahu afflicts other planets. And this is quite the placement of Rahu in the first house. The two versions when afflicting and other version when not afflicting. So I have mentioned both the results. Do subscribe the channel necessarily and hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this, because the series will be quite long. There are many podcasts pending. So these are the main issues that one has to focus. So in case of Aries ascendant, I'll wind up. Mars should be utterly strong. Sun should be utterly strong. Venus should be utterly strong. Jupiter should be utterly strong in order to get relief from the affliction of Rahu in the chart, isn't it? In case these planets are utterly strong in the chart, the native won't face such negative, negative side of the Rahu, isn't it? Such impact from the Rahu. So these are the main points. Now let us come to the Taurus ascendant chart. So far as Taurus ascendant is concerned, Rahu will be in the Taurus sign, will be in the Lagna, and in Taurus Rahu gets exalted. So this is one of the most important placement, and this is one of the best placements for Rahu when it's exalted, especially in case of Taurus ascendant chart. And as I have said that Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature, one can't expect anything positive out of it, but under unique and exceptional cases, when the conditions are fulfilled, there are multiple conditions that I have mentioned in the podcast of Rahu in Vedic astrology. You can see that, rather you can watch that. However, these Taurians usually are unstable by health, and they are prone to transit afflictions more and more. But I have given consultation to few Taurians. They are stable by health, because there is a way to stabilize their health. So one of the disturbed ascendants among the 12 zodiac signs is Taurus ascendant. They remain disturbed in life. They remain disturbed in health also. Their health remains unstable. However, Rahu gets exalted in their ascendant, isn't it? In the first house. So when afflicting, it gives one type of result, and when not afflicting, it gives one types of results. So when not afflicting, it activates the person. It leads to gains in life if Venus is also strong in the chart. So it activates the person and makes him desirous of earning more and more without considering the ethical code of society. Such a person will be ambitious, he will be brilliant, he will be intelligent, given Venus and Mercury are also strong in the chart. And he will be a genius, rather, a software engineer. He will be a programmer. He will be a space scientist. He will be a unique astrologer also. And but his personality will be, he will be quite selfish. He will be desirous of developing himself, rather thinking about himself, with forgetting others at all. Such a person will think about himself only. He won't bother about others. So he will be mean, but his intellect, his intelligence, that will be unmatched. Given Rahu is strong also, it's not that it's exalted, it means that it's so. No, firstly it should be strong, then when it's exalted, so it gives amazing results during its Antardasha. And these are the main points. In case Rahu is afflicting in the chart, afflicting in the first house, it leads to serious health problems. There are acute health problems. There are issues with the male children. There are issues with father. There are issues in the marital life also, isn't it? There are high possibilities, especially if Venus is also placed in the Lagna and Rahu is also placed in the Lagna. There are higher chances of extramarital affairs. Such a person will have extramarital affairs, and such a person will be drug addict, isn't it? He will become alcoholic. He will forget about the ethical code of society completely. it will be irrespective of Antardasha, isn't it? So these are the main issues that one has to face. There will be issues with the mother also, issues with the progeny also, issues with the father also, issues with the general fortune also. So these are the main issues when Rahu is afflicting in the first house. However, if Sun, however, if Mercury, if Venus, if Jupiter, and Mars rather, if these planets are utterly strong in the chart, especially if Mercury, Venus, isn't it? Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, these planets are utterly strong in the chart. The effect of Rahu will get controlled. The native will get safeguard from the impact of Rahu to some extent. So these are the main points. Do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. Now let us move to Taurus, Gemini ascendant. I won't comment that who should wear Rahu, because that can't be explained in these podcasts. That is a part of consultation rather. Now what I can say, what are the results and what happens actually. As I said that in case of Geminians also, most of Geminians usually face stability, isn't it? They remain stable, quite nice persons they are. However, when they face problems due to Rahu Ketu as well. As I said that Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it. And Rahu in the first house, it will be in the Gemini. And few authors write that in Gemini it gets exalted, but my opinion is contrary to that. It does not become debilitated, or it does not become exalted in Gemini. It becomes exalted in Taurus and debilitated in Scorpio sign. Not other than these two signs. However, if Rahu is placed in the first house, when afflicting in the first house, it leads to problems. When not afflicting the first house, it activates the person and makes him desirous of earning more and more without considering the ethical code of society. Such a person becomes selfish. He thinks only about himself, and he becomes mean and selfish, and he also becomes ambitious in life. Such a person will be intelligent, although given Mercury and Venus are also strong in the chart. So he will be a software engineer, he will be a programmer, he will be a space scientist, he will be an astrologer, a unique astrologer rather. And such a person will have gains and luxuries highly when if Mars here, Venus, Rahu, these are strong in the chart. So these are clear indications that the native will be having much gains in life. However, if Rahu is afflicting in the chart, it becomes a cause of concern for the native, and it creates problem during its Antardasha, and irrespective of that. So when Rahu is afflicting in the first house, it leads to acute health problems. It leads to problems to father. It leads to problems to male progeny. It leads to marital problems as well. And such a person is involved in extramarital affairs as well, usually when Rahu is afflicting in the first house. And he will be a drug addict, he will become alcoholic, he will forget about the ethical code of society. So he will do what is not expected by the society. He will be something, beyond the society, isn't it? A metaphysical entity rather. He will forget the people. What he is doing, he won't get bothered about that. What will people say, what will he say, who say. He will not bother about what people will say. He will do what he like. So such a person is quite quite strange when Rahu is afflicting in the first house. So these are the main points. Do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. Cancer ascendant chart. Do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. Rahu in the first house, it means that Rahu will be in the Cancer sign, And as I mentioned that Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature, one can't expect anything positive out of it. Now, Saturn is one of the most malefic planets for Cancer ascendant. It means that Rahu will be doing much harm to the Cancer ascendant as well. And in most of the cases, is do usual rule as I have, as is my experience. When Rahu is placed in the Lagna itself, it creates many problems to the Cancer ascendant as well. And if not afflicting, it activates the person, makes him desirous of earning more and more without considering the ethical code of society. Such a person becomes ambitious in life also. Such a person is selfish also, isn't it? Most often involved in extramarital affairs also. So those are the issues that will be there when Rahu is not afflicting in the first house during its Antardasha. If Rahu is afflicting in the fourth in the Lagna, if Rahu placed in the Lagna is afflicting, it will lead to serious health problems. It will cause problems to male children, problems to father, problems with marital life also. And the person will become drug addict, isn't it? He will become drug addict, he will indulge in illegal activities, he will have extramarital affairs also, and he won't think about the ethical code of society. He will forget what people will say, isn't it? But if such as Rahu is quite strong in the chart, it will lead the person to grow in programming sciences, to reach to indulge in science and tech and subjects like that. But such a placement will be quite strange, that will be quite challenging for the person. If Lagna rises in the Rahu nakshatra and Rahu is not afflicting in the chart, and Rahu is quite strong in the chart, it will lead to the intelligence and geniusness of the person. So these are the main results when Rahu is placed in the Lagna in case of Cancer ascendant. Leo ascendant, do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. When Rahu is placed in Lagna, that is Rahu is placed in Lagna, that is Rahu is placed in Leo, what results it will give. As I have said, firstly that Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of him, like the general planets as Mars, Venus and Jupiter, other planets. Rahu, Ketu, both planets are of general malefic nature. You can watch the broadcasts on Ketu series as well. So when Rahu is not afflicting in the first house in Leo sign, it activates the person, makes the person desirous, and Rahu should be strong firstly, and placed in Leo sign and not afflicting, it makes the person desirous. It makes the person desirous of earning more and more. Such a person aims at earning more and more without considering the ethical code of society. He becomes selfish, but he becomes ambitious in life also. And when Rahu is strong and not afflicting, such a person will be intelligent, or given Venus is also strong, Mercury is also strong in the chart, and such a native will have gains in life, isn't it? He will be a wealthy person rather. So if Venus is also strong in the chart apart from Rahu, so these are the main results that Rahu gives during its Antardasha when it is not afflicting in the chart. And on the other hand, if Rahu, if the Lagna rises in a Rahu nakshatra, that becomes a blessing for the native. But Rahu should be strong and it should not be afflicting its house of placement in the first house. So when it's afflicting its house of placement in the first house, it causes acute health problems. It causes problems to father, problems to male children, problems to marriage, and the person will be involved in extramarital affairs. Also, there will be danger of divorce for the native as well when it's afflicting in the first house. Such a person will be drug addict, isn't it? He will be alcoholic. So these are the serious and main issues when Rahu is placed in the Lagna in case of Leo ascendant chart. So do subscribe the channel necessary in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. However, if Sun is utterly strong, Jupiter is utterly strong, Saturn is utterly strong, Mars is utterly strong in the chart, these planets are utterly strong in the chart, the native will be able to control the ill effects of Rahu, isn't it? The ill effects of Rahu won't be able to involve the person in such problems, but the concerned planet should be utterly strong in the chart, isn't it? So these are the main points that one has to take into consideration. Now Virgos, for Virgos, Rahu usually gives good results, but in exceptional cases, Rahu gives amazing results in case of Virgo certain natives, but there are exceptions. It is quite, the analysis should be by an expert astrologer, isn't it? Because many things have to be seen, whether to activate Rahu, whether to use Hazonite or not. There is my separate podcast on that, you can watch that. Now for Virgo ascendant chart, as I said, that Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature, and under unique and exceptional conditions it gives good results to the native. However, Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature, one can't expect anything positive out of it, and when it's placed in Lagna, in Virgo sign, it gives good results. When not afflicting its house of placement in the Lagna, it activates the person and makes him desirous of earning more and more without thinking about the ethical code of society. Such a person is also, becomes ambitious. He's also selfish in nature. He thinks about himself only, forgets others. So these are the main results when Rahu is placed in the Lagna, and it's not afflicting its house of placement. And Mercury should be utterly strong in this case. That is the main point. And in case it is afflicting in the first house, it leads to acute health problems. Such a person becomes, if Mercury is weak in the chart, and such a person orients towards the illegal activities, such a person becomes drug addict also, alcoholic also, and devilish thinking and devilish thoughts keep on moving in the mind of the person if Mercury is weak in the chart. Especially if Mercury and Venus are weak in the chart, such a person will definitely have devilish thoughts, and he can do criminal. He becomes such a criminal that one is unable to understand what he is doing, because when he forgets about the ethical code of society, he becomes criminal, and he does such crimes one has not expected. And there are issues with respect to marriage. Such a person is involved in extramarital affairs also. There are problems to male children, problems to father, and problems to one's personality, because his personality becomes quite strange. One is unable to understand what is happening to the person. So these are the main issues, and it becomes a plus point when the Lagna rises in the Rahu Nakshatra, and Rahu itself is quite strong in the chart, and Rahu is not afflicting either its house of placement or either any planet in the chart. So that becomes a blessing. So Rahu should not afflict its house of placement, and it should not afflict other planets as well. Then it gives amazing results. So there are conditions, specific conditions under which Rahu gives extremely good results by health and wealth also. If Venus, Moon, and Rahu and Mercury, these four planets are utterly strong in Virgo ascendant chart, the native will enjoy gains in life. He will lead a luxurious life. He will be a wealthiest person, isn't it? If these planets are utterly strong in the chart. So however, Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, these planets should be utterly strong in order to get safeguarded from the affliction of Rahu in the chart. Do subscribe the channel necessarily, and hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos. Libra ascendant chart, as I mentioned that Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature, so one can't expect anything positive out of it. To subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. So one can't expect anything positive out of it. Rahu gives good results in case of Virgo, in case of Libra ascendant as well, but there are certain conditions, unique conditions should be there, under which we can recommend Hazonite for the native. Now when Rahu is placed in Libra, in the Lagna itself, what results it will give if Rahu is afflicting and if Rahu is not afflicting. If Rahu is not afflicting, it makes the person desirous of earning more and more without considering the ethical code of society, isn't it? Such a person becomes ambitious, such a person becomes selfish, and these are the main results of Rahu in the first house. And such a person will be wealthiest if sun is strong in the chart, if Venus is strong in the chart, Mercury is also strong in the chart. In these under these conditions, when Rahu is utterly strong placed in the Lagna, and Venus is also strong and Sun is also strong in the chart, it will imply that the person will lead a luxurious life, and he will be a wealthiest person. And so far as the issues with respect to afflictions are concerned, when Rahu is afflicting its house of placement in the first house, it will lead to acute health problems. The person will have devilish mindset, isn't it? He will be a criminal, and he will think only about himself. Rather, by doing so, he will do crimes, because he will have ego also, a strange type of ego. Such a person will be involved in extramarital affairs also. Because of that, marital issues will arise in the life of the native. There will be issues with male progeny, there will be problems with father, and the personality of the native will be strange, isn't it? He will do what is against the society. So these are the main results when Rahu is afflicting in the chart, and especially when Venus is weak and Rahu is afflicting in the first house. However, if Venus is strong, if Saturn is strong, if Mars is strong, and if Jupiter is utterly strong in the chart, such combinations will imply that the native will get relief despite the afflictions of Rahu in the chart. In case Rahu is placed in the first house, the Rahu will, the native will get protection from the affliction of Rahu in the first house if the said planets are utterly strong in the chart. And such a person will be, when Rahu is placed and not afflicting, he'll be interested in astrology and space sciences as well. And he will be a genius person if Venus and Mercury are also strong in the chart. So these are the main points that one has to take into consideration while dealing with Rahu in the first house in case of Libra ascendant. Now let us move to Scorpio ascendant. Scorpio ascendant, and in Scorpio it becomes debilitated. It gets debilitated in the sign of Scorpio. However, what problems it will give? As I said that do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. As I said that Rahu becomes debilitated in Scorpio sign, and as I mentioned that Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature, one can't expect anything positive out of it. And when Rahu is placed in the Lagna, it is gives results. What results it will give? If Rahu is afflicting its house of placement in the first house, it will cause acute health problems. It will lead to extramarital affairs. Such a person will have devilish mindset, isn't it? He will be a criminal. He will think about himself to such an extent that he will start doing crimes, and such a person will be hated by other people as well. There will be issues, there will be pains and swellings in the body, and there will be problems with male progeny, problems with father, problems in the marital life also. So these are the main results when Rahu is placed in Lagna. And in this case, when Rahu is debilitated Rahu will create the double problem. It will multiplicate the ill effects of Rahu. It should be noted that Rahu, when debilitated and afflicting its house of placement in the first house or in any other house also, I am discussing about the first house here. When it is debilitated and afflicting its house of placement, it will create serious problems to the native. I mentioned the main problems that native has to face. Devilish mindset, he has to face the devilish mindset. But how to control that? There are ways. However, when Rahu is not afflicting, it makes the person desirous, but still he won't be desirous like that, because here Rahu is debilitated. The Rahu is debilitated, so the person won't be desirous. The person will have low gains in life, isn't it? He will be in business or any other sector, but he will face losses. He will not be able to accumulate wealth. Why? Because Rahu is materialistic pursuits will not be satisfactory, or the materialistic pursuits of such native will not be satisfactory. Why? Because Rahu is debilitated. Despite if Venus is utterly strong in the chart, but here it is debilitated and its dispositor is not defined in this case. So what will happen? Such a person will have very low, less materialistic pursuits, despite he's working somewhere, or he's intelligent, he's indulging in a business rather, but gains won't be satisfactory despite the strength of Mercury, despite the strength of Venus, isn't it? So here what should we do? There are remedies what to do in order to get out of this problem. And in case Scorpio Lagna rises in a Rahu Nakshatra, and Rahu is debilitated and afflicting its house of placement in the first house, it becomes a matter of concern. It gives serious problems to the native. One is unable to understand what is happening, but this thing will happen certainly. So do subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this, isn't it? Now we have Sagittarius ascendant chart. For Sagittarius it gives the same results, and there are issues that one has to face. As I have said, that Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it. And here we are discussing the results of Rahu in the Lagna, and what will be the results. And as I said, that Rahu does not give any good results. In few cases, to few ascendants that I mentioned rather, it gives extremely good results. Their health remains stable. Their other issues remain stable as well with Hazonite. But there are proper ways to recommend Hazonite gemstone. In most of the cases, it creates mess in the life of the native. So when Rahu is placed in the first house in Sagittarius, and it's afflicting its house of placement in the chart, it will lead to serious health problems. It will lead to acute health problems. It will lead to problems with male progeny, problems with father, problems in the marital life as well. However, Jupiter should be utterly strong in the chart. That will lessen the ill effect of Rahu to some extent. And now when Rahu is not afflicting its house of placement in the first house, in the Sagittarius sign, it will make the person desirous of earning more and more. Such a person will be desirous of earning more and more without considering the ethical code of society. Such a person will be selfish. He will be ambitious. When afflicting, he will be a criminal, isn't it? He will be a person having devilish type of thoughts, devilish mindset rather. When not afflicting, the results will be good, isn't it? He will be ambitious. He will be thinking of earning more and more without considering the ethical code of the society. And he will have extramarital affairs also. He will have gains when Rahu is strong, and when Jupiter is also strong in the chart. And when Venus is also strong in the chart, apart from, he will have extremely high gains, luxurious life, and he will be a wealthiest person in such a case. And he will be a genius person as well by mentality, and be a person like, software engineer, programmer, scientist, and things like that. So these are the main results of Rahu when it is afflicting, and when it is not afflicting its house of placement in the first house. And it becomes a puzzle when the Lagna rises in a Rahu Nakshatra and Rahu is strong in the chart and Rahu is not afflicting in the chart. Under such conditions, it will give extremely good results. And if the Lagna rises in the Rahu Nakshatra and Rahu is weak in the chart, either Rahu is afflicting in the chart and Jupiter is utterly weak in the chart, or Jupiter is itself afflicted by the most malefic planet. Under such conditions, it becomes a cause of concern for the native. It is extremely a problem It's it's a strange problem in case of such a native. So such a native have to face problems out of Rahu in if it happens. So what you can do, you can't remove Rahu, but you can remove the malefic influence of Rahu from first house by doing the proper remedies for Rahu. To subscribe the channel, hit the bell icon and get notified for the upcoming videos like this. However, if Jupiter, Mars, Sun and Venus, these planets are utterly strong in the chart, despite the affliction of Rahu, it won't spoil the life of the native to such an extent, isn't it? The person will get safeguarded despite the affliction of Rahu in the chart. So these are the main results that one has to take into consideration while dealing with Rahu in the Lagna. Now Capricorn ascendant chart, in case of Capricorn ascendant, gives good results also, and but there are conditions. Under few conditions, these natives also remain disturbed. They face strange issues in life also. And now, as I said, that Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it, as I mentioned over and again. And if Rahu is placed in the first house, if it's afflicting its house of placement in the chart, it leads to acute health problems, problems to father, problems to male progeny, problems to marital life. There may be divorce also, and the person is involved in a devilish mindset. The person will be having a devilish mindset. He will be a criminal and thinking odds about the people. He does not think positive about other people, isn't it? So these are the main, and such a person is hated by others also. And he will have, if Rahu is afflicting, he will have swellings, he will have skin issues and swellings in the body. And these are the main results when Rahu is afflicting in the first house. When Rahu is not afflicting in the first house in Capricorn sign, it makes the person desirous of earning more and more without considering the ethical code of society. And such a person becomes ambitious also, he becomes selfish also, and he has inclination towards having extramarital affairs also. So these are the main results when Rahu is not afflicting. In case the Lagna rises in the Rahu Nakshatra and the Rahu is afflicting in the chart, it becomes a problem. If Lagna rises in the Rahu Nakshatra and Rahu is strong and Rahu is not afflicting its house of placement in the chart, it's a blessing for the native. Such a person will have gains, isn't it? So if Rahu is not afflicting in the chart and it and Venus is also strong in the chart, and the native will have gains in life. Such a person will be intelligent. He will be a person like software engineer, programmer, developer, isn't it? A technician involved in having a high inclination towards technology, rather a scientist rather. But if it's afflicting, it becomes a cause of concern for the native, isn't it? However, if Moon, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, these planets are utterly strong in the chart, the native won't face the native won't feel the problems out of Rahu to such an extent, despite its affliction in the chart, isn't it? So these are the main points to be considered while dealing with Rahu in Lagna in case of Capricorn ascendant. Now, Aquarius ascendant Rahu in the Lagna, what results it will show? As I have said that Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it, but under certain conditions it gives good results, it gives positive results, and it leads to good results in its Antardasha. If Rahu is afflicting its house of placement, it will create acute health problems to the native. Such a there will be problems to father, problems with respect to marital life, problems to male children. Such a person will have devilish mindset. He will be a criminal, thinking about himself only, but he will have a criminal mindset rather, and he will be hated by others also. And if Rahu is not afflicting its house of placement in the first house, and it will give good results, such a person will be desirous of earning more and more without considering the ethical code of society. Such a person will be having he will be ambitious, he will be selfish also. So these are the main results of Rahu in the Lagna. when Rahu is not afflicting. And Saturn should be utterly strong in the chart, because Saturn becomes the lord of Rahu in this case. So in case Sun, Venus, you know, Jupiter, these planets are utterly strong in the chart, Saturn also, the native won't be able to face the effect of ill effects of Rahu despite its affliction, isn't it? Now Jupiter should be strong, Venus should be strong, Mercury should be strong, apart from Saturn. And if Rahu is also strong and not afflicted in the chart, such person will lead a luxurious life if there are no afflictions in the chart, isn't it? And it becomes a puzzle when the Lagna rises in a Rahu nakshatra and Rahu is strong, Rahu is not afflicting, and Rahu is not afflicting other planets, neither it afflicts its house of placement in the Lagna. The person, achieves heights in the life, isn't it? He achieves heights in the life. He lives a luxurious life. The gains and desires of the native gets fulfilled. And if Saturn is also strong and Rahu is also strong, such a person becomes a scientist. He will be a developer, he will be a programmer, he will be a software engineer, isn't it? He will be having a unique edge on astrology and unique interest in astrology rather. So these are the main points to be considered while dealing with Rahu in the Lagna in case of Aquarius ascendant chart. Now let us come to the final. Let us come to the final. Hello. Let us come to the final series of this podcast, that is Pisces ascendant. In case of Pisces ascendant chart, Rahu will give worst results. You can't use Hazonite at all. 3 signs, as I mentioned, 2 signs majorly. One is Cancer ascendant and other is Pisces ascendant. You can't use Hazonite ever. Using Hazonite, you will face problems in life, isn't it? You will face extremely high problems in life. So it's recommended to remove Hazonite. If you are wearing Hazonite and you are Pisces ascendant or you are Cancer ascendant, it will create problem definitely. Now, as I said, the Rahu is a planet of general malefic nature. One can't expect anything positive out of it. And if it's placed in the Lagna and it's afflicting, it will create acute health problems. It will create problems to father, problems to male progeny, problems with respect to marriage. And the person will have devilish mindset and he will have double standards, isn't it? A hypocrite, he will be a criminal. He will be a selfish person, mean person, not thinking about others, and he will forget about the ethical code of society. So these are the strange effects when his personality will be quite strange, and people would like to hate him, and he will have hate speech against people rather. So these are the main results when Rahu is afflicting its house of placement in the first house. When Rahu is not afflicting, it makes the person desirous of earning more and more without considering the ethical codes of the society. Such a person becomes ambitious. Such a person has gains also if Venus is also strong in the chart, Mercury is also strong in the chart. So such a person will have extramarital affairs also. And such person, thinks only about himself, earning more and more, and thinks himself, focuses himself, and forgets others, isn't it? If afflicting, it will lead to swellings in the body. If afflicting, and the transit is going to be in the Rahu, and those natives who have Rahu in the Lagna in their birth chart, and now transit of Rahu is going to Pisces, and it will create extremely strange problems in this transit. It will create extreme problems. Will be like this that I mentioned, that Rahu in Pisces, what problems it does give. And in case the Lagna rises in the Rahu nakshatra and Rahu is afflicting in the chart, it becomes a cause of concern for the native. However, if Moon, Mercury, Venus, Saturn are utterly strong in the chart, the native will get relief despite the affliction of Rahu in the chart, isn't it? So these are the main points. To subscribe the channel, necessary hit the bell icon in order to get notified for the upcoming videos like this. And there will be much more now. Many of the podcasts are pending that need to be shared with the subscribers with the people who want to increase their knowledge of Vedic astrology, isn't it? So subscribe the channel and share the podcast as much as possible so that other people may also learn. Bye bye.